Hey, what's up everyone? Another hot day here, but wanted to show you something that I'm pretty excited about. It's what I've wanted for probably about 2 years now. Was able to find it on the Amazon Prime Day for really cheap. Well, I say really cheap. I was able to find it for about a $150 discount. Now what this is the Blackvue 4K. I believe it's the DR900S 2 channel. It came with the Power Magic Pro. Then they also had a deal. Let me grab it here. They also had a deal for 128 gig card. I think I paid 15 bucks for it. This one is a high endurance card made for dash cams and home security cameras. So this should work really well as what was recommended on the forums. Now let's get to it. I'm going to go ahead and unbox it and show you all the parts. So this is the unboxing here of the Blackvue dash cam. Comes with a lot of just different 3M stuff. I believe these two 3Ms are for the actual cameras themselves. Then it comes with all these little clips. I guess if you need to run the wire down somewhere, you can secure it with a 3M on one side and then the clip on the other side. It came with a little SD reader, an SD card. It said 16, but I actually got a 32 gig card, which is pretty cool. But still, 128 versus 32. I'm going to throw the 128 one in there. This is the wire, I believe, from the front camera to the back camera. Looks pretty long, so hopefully I have enough of it. A pry tool, and you got your outlet. I guess if you don't want to use your Magic Pro or don't have it, you just plug it into the 12 volt outlet and you're able to get power to it. You have your rear here and then the front here. The sizing is pretty good. I don't really know what to compare it to, but just fitting it into my hand, it's a pretty small camera compared to a lot of the others, especially this rear. It's really tiny. Now moving on to the Power Magic Pro. Looks like you have the control box here. You have some 2 screws if you want to attach it that way, or some 3M. Then this is the wiring harness from, I guess, your 12 volt outlet. Will plug into here, and then you'll just ground it out and power it this way. I'm glad that it actually has everything labeled. It makes it a little bit easier. It looks like it has some instructions included. So overall, this isn't a project I thought there was going to be a whole lot more to it. Looks pretty simple. So it's the power and then this wire out to your lower. I think the most difficult thing in this project is going to be actually routing the wire. So I'm going to get a better starting base of what I want to do first, and we'll go from there. So in looking at the Power Magic Pro, you can see that there's 5 switches here. The first 2 are your power cutoff ones. The second 3 are the duration of how long you want to record whenever you have the switch flipped onto the on position. Now what this does is it allows you to flip the switch on whenever, say, I park somewhere, and the camera will stay on. Now the voltage, whenever it drops, I'm going to set it at 12 volts. If it drops below 12 volts, then the camera will cut out. Now, I'm not 100% sure, but my battery, being the yellow top Optima, it sometimes drops below 12, but then will pull back up to like 12.2. So I wonder if the camera will turn back on whenever the voltage returns. That'll be something just to check out here in the near future. But from the, I guess, instructions here, it gives you plenty of ways to set it up, where you can set it up 6, 12 hours, 24, basically all the way to infinite looping. So I'm going to set this, and then I'm going to show you what it actually looks like once I have everything set. I now have it set for 12 volts and then a continuous stream of 12 hours. I set it for 12, which is pretty long, but for example, if I parked it overnight at a friend's house. So you'd push the 2 down and then the 5 down to set it this way yourself. So in just looking at the dash cam here, there's a button that says lock on top. Figured out if you press that in, it allows you to, let me get a good angle here. It allows you to adjust the camera up or down. So basically the main thing to do is make sure that you have the camera set straight and not at an angle whenever you install it, and then you're allowed to go like this. Now I thought you could swivel it, but I guess it doesn't have that ability. Now if you look on the side here, you'll see you have your input, and then this is the rear input. This is for your Wi-Fi, which I'll get into more later. If you pop this little top off here, you can see it has the spot for your SD card. I'm going to go ahead and put the SD card in there so I don't forget later on. Now on the other end, it looks like it just states Blackvue, and then it has, looks like a little light to signal whenever the Wi-Fi is turned on. Now I have the dash view cam all set up here. I figured it's going to be best to install this first because that'll let me know how to run the rear wire, as well as whenever I get around to installing this part here for the actual power, I'll be able to route it as well. So I'll probably do this first to get it underneath and then route the rear. One thing that is kind of annoying is that there's not any type of connection separation here at the 12 volt outlet portion. And so if I'm feeding this around and I need to put this through a small area, it's going to make it a little bit of a pain. But I'm going to go ahead and route it, put the rear in, route the rear, and then I'll get back with you showing you how I did it. So I figured I'd show you how I routed this camera. Basically you have the wire here, and then it goes up into the headliner, around, tucked it in the top part of the A pillar, or I'm sorry, whatever pillar this is right here, and then tucked it along the side. And as you can see right here, it comes out. I was able to feed everything through the hole. That's what I was talking about. This part kind of makes it annoying to kind of fit it through one of the smaller areas. So I fit it through here, then reached up inside, pulled it down. So now I have everything just underneath the dash here. So this cover, it pops off whenever it's on there. Just start at the bottom and kind of pry it. It comes with a tool, which is really nice. Once you have the bottom popped off, just kind of go around the edge and it comes off pretty easy. So what I did now is just connect the rear, and maybe a little bit difficult to see, but I put 4 black clips right here to secure the initial line, and I guess the trick is just to intertwine the rear one here with the others. That way you don't actually have to install more clips, since I only have 4 left. And I basically just routed along the headliner here, tucked it into this pillar, and now what I'm doing is running it back along here. I'm going to wrap it around this plastic, basically put it on the inside, and then route it back even more. So I now have the wire routed to the back here. I did want to say that if you look right here, basically where that plastic piece meets this rubber trim, that's where you can tuck your wire. So there's going to be a whole lot left afterwards, and you'll be able just to feed it in here, and then it goes down here into the body panel. You don't want to put it over, because then you'll cover up the airbag that's right there. Also for the rear, I was going to wait until I could connect everything to my phone before I placed it, because due to the wing and then the random stickers and stuff that's on the back, I want to make sure that I have a good angle coming out of the rear before I use the 3M and secure it in its permanent position. So in looking at the connections, you have your black, which is basically just the ground here. Then you have your red and white. I'm sorry, red and yellow. The yellow here is for your battery. So basically what you do is pull a fuse out of the fuse box, wrap this around one of the blades, and put it back in. Same for the red here. Now the only difference is that the red goes to a switched fuse, meaning whenever the car turns on, it's hot. The yellow goes to a constant. Now what I did was pull out my fuse box here, and what I'm looking at is the one that says 7.5A stop. I just tested it, filmed myself press the brakes, the lights turn on, so that's a constant hot. So that'll be where my battery one goes. The other one I decided to do to the 12-volt plug. Just really, I think the cigar is the one that is kind of in that cubby hole. So I don't want to pull any extra power from it because that's what I do use to charge my phone every now and then or connect any device, but the 12-volt plug inside the console I never use. So I'm going to go ahead and use that one and see how it all works out. I just connected it here against the where I guess you'd rest your foot. There's a little nut up there. I know the ground does work because these lights that I have are already grounded to it. So basically I just jammed it up between the bolt and the washer and then was able to get it fastened down on there. So you don't have to pay attention to the top one, that's for a different one, but you can see the 7.5, that's where I have the yellow hot wire, and then the 10 down here is at the switched area. So I have the wires all tucked now, everything's back, and right down here is where I put the switch. I just had to use the 3M, or I could say only had to use the 3M. I didn't have to actually screw it in, so held up really well. Now, what I'm doing right now is just testing it with my phone. The switch is on, so camera's on, recording. And I was just playing with it here. As you can see, my phone recording, looking out the back. If I press this button here, loads for a second, and then goes back to the front. Now this quality you see on the phone is, I'd say maybe like a 360, maybe 480p, so it's not the best. You can see it's recording that car that just pulled in here, but whenever you actually do the playback on your phone, it shows up a whole lot better. So give me just 1 second, I'll actually show you what I'm talking about. So it saves all of your recordings on here, and you have the option to save it to your actual phone if you need to play it back later. But for example, there's this one here, I'm not sure what it is. Seems like it takes a moment. You can press a button to turn it sideways. And this is much better quality than before. So it's that simple to do. Basically it was just working, adjusting the time, making sure it was correct. Besides that, not too much to it. So I'm working actually on getting the rear all installed. I'll show you that here in a second. I have it placed, but still have to get all the wiring all fixed up. So I have the camera all set up now in the rear. I'll get in a little bit more light and then show you again, but basically have the wire coming down, straight down to the camera. So in the rear here, routed the wire all the way down to over here. You can see it comes down all the way to the camera right there. So I'm showing line coming down, which doesn't bother me too much. If it does later, then I can reroute it and try a different approach. But this is the only way that I could find without running it along the plastic here. So the actual install wasn't too bad. Basically just getting up underneath the dash area, doing those wires was probably the biggest pain for the PowerMagic Pro, but still, even that wasn't too bad since the wires were already stripped, connected. It wasn't as if I was having to kind of build anything. Apart from that, I'm sure you want to see what the actual footage looks like. We're going to go for a ride. I'll show you what the dash cam looks like, how it records, and if you have any more questions, feel free to let me know. As always, happy driving and enjoy.